Life cycle of Entamoeba histolytica. So we have to run through the trophozoite stage. We know the trophozoite stage is the feeding stage. Trophozoite stage is feeding stage. Where it located, it is in the submucosa of large intestine. With the help of pseudopodia, this particular trophozoite stage is going to feed the contents of human being. What we call it as RBC, by releasing histolysin enzyme that eats the dissolves the ruptures the blood capillaries of human being and eats the RBC. Okay, so this trophozoite stage, who is there in the submucosa of large intestine. So I'm showing the granular endoplasm and ectoplasm is there and pseudopodia is there. And what is the additional another one? That nucleus of entamoeba we called a cartwheel nucleus. This trophozoite stage, food vacuoles are there, food vacuoles which contain RBC, because it is the human RBC. So that's why the content is the food vacuole contain RBC. This trophozoite stage, after all feeding, it undergo binary fission. The trophozoite stage undergoes the asexual reproduction method, we say binary fission. It undergo binary fission that I am showing in the submucosa of large intestine. The trophozoite stage undergo binary fission. Okay, after the binary fission, some stages comes, some of them act like trophozoite again. Some of them act like trophozoite and they stay in the submucosa of large intestine. And some of the stages will become pre-cystic stage. Some of the stages will become pre-cystic stage. They lack pseudopodia and they bear chromatoid bodies and glycogen particles. Chromatoid bodies and glycogen particles are there. Nucleus as usual. Okay. So this stage we say pre-cystic stage.
ఇప్పుడే ప్రొమోగనేట్ వాళ్ళు ఇచ్చి ఇచ్చాను తిని పడుకుంది.
Yes, the pre-cystic stage. After the binary fission, some of the stages will become pre-cystic stage. These pre-cystic stages will come into the lumen of large intestine. These pre-cystic stages will come to the lumen of large intestine, and these pre-cystic stages are pre-cystic stage means, what is the meaning of pre-cystic stage? The stage which before the formation of cystic layer, it means like that. So this pre-cystic stage will go for the encystation process. Nucleus I am going to draw as usual, and it form a cystic layer surround. Pre-cystic stage form a cystic layer surround. What we call it as that encystation. The process we can say it as encystation. Pre-cystic stage form a cystic layer surround. We say encystation. Okay. So now the encysted entamoeba I am going to draw. Encysted entamoeba. The process we call encystation, and as usual we'll find the nucleus and chromatoid bodies are there. Nucleus divides once. That means how many nuclei are formed? Two nuclei. We call it as binucleate cystic stage. We say it as binucleate cystic stage. So again, nucleus divides. Again, the nucleus divides. Four nuclei are getting formed. Four nuclei containing stage is said to be tetranucleate cystic stage. Where all these things are happening now?
Cystic stage.
No, location is very important. We should, yeah,
Lumen of large
yeah, very good. That means after the binary fission in the wall of submucosa of large intestine, the some of the stages enter into the lumen of large intestine and they form a cystic layer that when those who entered here inside, we call them as pre-cystic stages. Okay, that we call them as pre-cystic stages, and these particular pre-cystic stages in the lumen of large intestine form a cystic layer. Process is said to be encystation. nucleus divides once. How many nuclei are formed? 2 nuclei. We say it has binucleate cystic stage. Nuclei again divide. 4 nuclei are formed. We call it as tetranucleate cystic stage. It is said to be as tetranucleate cystic stage. So these tetranucleate cystic stages from the lumen of large intestine, they come out through the fecal matter, the human fecal matter. They come out through the fecal matter, and through the contaminated food and water, they are going to spread that enters into the another human being. And we know that mechanical vector cockroaches and houseflies also do the help. So through the fecal oral route, we use it to say it as fecal oral route. What is the fecal oral route? Then from the fecal matter through the contaminated food and water, that these particular stages will enter into the human being, that what we can say fecal oral route. That means from the fecal matter of one human being enters into the another human being. So what you say fecal oral route, these tetranucleated cystic stages enters into the another human being. When they enter into the small intestine, in the lumen of small intestine, due to the action of enzyme trypsin, which is there in the human being, this tetranucleate cystic stage, cyst wall will get ruptured, and cyst wall ruptured and cystic stage will come out, which contain the four nuclei containing cystic stage will come out. This process we say excistation. Process is called excistation. The stage who came out is said to be metacyst. This metacystic stage in the lumen of small intestine will migrate into the large intestine. In the mean period of time, this particular nucleus divides one more time, and that results the 8 nuclei. Nucleus again divides 8 nuclei, followed by cytoplasmic division. The cytoplasmic division results the formation of many smaller individuals. We can say them as amoebulae. The 8 amoebulae are getting formed here. These 8 amoebulae, which contain the nucleus as well, so will migrate into the submucosa of large intestine, and then there they get settled down, become trophozoite. This is called life cycle. Life cycle. That means cycle. Cycle means should come where we get started. Where we get started, there we have to come back. So we came back. So one submucosa of large intestine to the submucosa of large intestine. This journey we can say life cycle. So let me say once again. This is the trophozoite stage, which lives in the submucosa of large intestine, undergo binary fission. Submucosa of large intestine which undergo binary fission. Among them, some of the stages which we call them as pre-cystic stages, these pre-cystic stages will enter into the lumen of large intestine. In the lumen of large intestine, they form a cystic layer surround, we say encystation process. After the encystation, the stage is called as cystic stage. Cystic stage. Then this cystic stage, having chromatoid bodies and glycogen particle that doesn't feed. Now, from pre-cystic stage onwards, we say they don't feed, non-feeding stages. Okay, that pre-cystic stage lacks pseudopodia even. That's what we said earlier. Now, this cystic stage undergo nuclear division. The 2 nuclear form. Now, the stage is called binucleate cystic stage. The stage is said to be binucleate cystic stage. Nucleus again divides. That leads to the formation of tetranucleate cystic stage. This tetranucleate cystic stage, which is there in the lumen of large intestine, will come out through the fecal matter and through the contaminated food and water, that from one human being to the another human being, contaminated food and water. That means human fecal matter, when it is combined with food and water, that through that particular condition, what do you call fecal matter to the oral means mouth, fecal oral route, it enters into the another human being, enters into the small intestine. Okay, that small intestine, there where it get entered, and in the lumen of small intestine, by the action of enzyme trypsin. The trypsin is a proteolytic enzyme of the human being. Trypsin dissolve that particular cystic wall, and the stage which comes out is called metacyst, and the process we can say excistation. The process of the metacyst coming out from the cystic layer is called excistation. Okay, so excisted entamoeba is called metacyst. Their nuclear division again occurs, 4 nuclei divide, results the 8 nuclei, formation of 8 nuclei, and followed by cytoplasmic division. Amoebulae are getting formed here, and these amoebulae, which are young individuals, will move into the submucosa of large intestine, and there they get settled down. Okay, so just look towards the diagram. I'll go once again. The trophozoites which undergo binary fission in the wall of large intestine and produce a number of daughter entamoebae. Then they feed upon the bacteria and the host tissue elements, grow in size again and multiply. After repeated binary fission, when the trophozoites increase in number, some of the young ones enter the lumen of large intestine. Some of the young ones enter into the lumen of large intestine and transform into pre-cystic stages. They get transformed into pre-cystic stages. Here the pre-cystic stages transform into cystic stages, which in turn develop into tetranucleate cystic stages. The entire process is completed only in a few hours. These tetranucleate cysts comes out along with the fecal matter and can remain alive for 10 days. They cysts reach new host through contaminated food and water. They reach through the contaminated food and water. They pass into the small intestine of a new human host where cyst wall get ruptured. So they pass into the small intestine of a new human host where the cyst wall gets ruptured by the action of enzyme trypsin. They get enzyme trypsin. Okay. So then enzyme trypsin makes the dissolution trypsin from human being, releasing the tetranucleate amoebae. The tetranucleate amoebae, such tetranucleate excistic amoebae are called metacysts. The 4 nuclei of the metacyst undergo mitotic division and produce 8 nuclei. Each nucleus get a bit of cytoplasm, and thus 8 daughter entamoebae or metacystic trophozoites are produced. So these young ones, that metacystic trophozoites, we use it to say, or amoebulae, we use it to say, these young ones develop into feeding stages called trophozoites. They invade the mucous membrane of the large intestine and grow into mature trophozoites. This is the story of this particular life cycle of Entamoeba histolytica. The pathogenicity. The trophozoites, we have so many trophozoites in the submucosa of large intestine, in the submucosa wall of large intestine, that there are so many trophozoites, and they release an enzyme called histolysin. They release an enzyme called histolysin, which ruptures the blood vessels and blood capillaries which are present here. Blood vessels are there in the submucosa. Blood vessels of human being, they get ruptured down. So they go in deep into the submucosa. They rupture more and they go deep into the submucosa. And so that the rupture makes the dissolve the wall of large intestine here. They go deep into the submucosa and they dissolve there and they cause ulcers there. So dissolution may cause ulcers. So I'll show here these kind of dissolution. Wait. So it causes ulcers in the wall of large intestine. That means rupture, wounds, we can say in general words. These ulcers contain cellular debris. What is present in these ulcers? Cellular debris. That means cell waste, we can say. Lymphocytes, red blood corpuscles. Lymphocytes are there, RBC are there, red blood corpuscles are there, bacteria are there. So all these particular the ulcers here because of trophozoite stage, because of histolysine released from the trophozoite stage. It leads to the formation of abscesses in the wall of large intestine. We use a word called abscesses. This is what? This wound we can say abscesses, which is because of histolysine enzyme. Okay, so ultimately it results in the stool with blood and mucus. So automatically this kind of damage makes over in our fecal matter when the fecal matter is coming out. So these through the fecal matter, this is large intestine, isn't it? So that almost the in small intestine food materials are digested. We have only the waste materials here. So from there, that in this particular fecal matter, RBC is there, cell debris, mucus. So all this along with tetranucleate cystic stages, that fecal matter, that stool, fecal matter, whatever the word we use, that is the waste material of human being. So ultimately it results in the stool with blood and mucus. This condition we say amoebic dysentery. Stool with fecal matter and tetranucleate cystic stages, RBC, and mucus. We call this disease as amoebic dysentery. And also it is called intestinal amoebiasis. Intestinal amoebiasis. We use one more word, tropical amoebiasis. That intestinal amoebiasis or tropical amoebiasis. Okay, so amoebic dysentery or intestinal amoebiasis or tropical amoebiasis, we can say the disease which caused by the trophozoite stages of Entamoeba histolytica, which are releasing enzyme called histolysine. Here in this case, some people may not show the symptoms like stools, the loose motions. This kind of symptoms cannot be expected in some people. They are very dangerous. We call them as carriers. We call them as carriers or asymptomatic cyst passer. The cyst will come from their body through the fecal matter, but they seems to be healthy. What we call them as asymptomatic cyst passers are carriers. Okay, so these people are very dangerous here. They move with the people, and the stool contain, but their stool contain tetranucleate cystic stages. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit danger. They help in spreading the parasites to other persons. Okay, so that's the story of Entamoeba histolytica causing amoebic dysentery. And moving on, extraintestinal amoebiasis. Extraintestinal, we know the parasite lives only in the submucosa of large intestine. There it causes amoebiasis. But sometimes when the number of this parasite is much increased, from there it will move into the different places of our body. We call that as extraintestinal amoebiasis. Sometimes these particular trophozoite rupture the wall of capillaries. They rupture the wall of capillaries, enter the bloodstream. From the bloodstream, they primarily reach towards the liver. And there they cause abscesses. That means what we call abscesses. Abscesses means the wound, we can say. In simple terms, we can say wound. Abscesses in the liver. Like large intestine, how do they do damage? The same kind we'll find here. Some says this as secondary amoebiasis. Primary in the large intestine, when it was excess there, then from there through the blood vessels, to the blood capillaries, in the bloodstream, they move into the liver and they cause abscesses in the liver. We call it as secondary amoebiasis. Okay, not only in the liver, They may move to the lungs also. They may go to the lungs or heart in severe cases, to the heart, to the brain, and to the kidney. Also, they get spread over. So, to the gonads. Other than intestine, wherever they go, we call it as extra-intestinal amoebiasis or secondary amoebiasis. So, there itself they cause abscesses and that parts leading to the severe pathological condition, which leads to the death even. Okay, so that's it about extra-intestinal amoebiasis. And moving on, the prophylaxis. What is prophylaxis? The care what we have to take to not to get this disease. Prevention, in simple words, we can say it as prevention. So what are the preventive measures to be taken over here? The preventive measures to be taken. So we know very well, I think so. We are aware of this, but let me hear the following hygienic habits help prevent spread of this disease. Using boiled and filtered water for drinking. Boiled and filtered water. So outside food vendors may not do this kind of thing. That's why we prefer that to eat homely food, not to eat outside. Then washing hands. Now people are much aware of this because of corona. Then fruits and vegetables. After all, bringing from outside, we have to wash that particular fruits and vegetables. From which ground they are coming, we don't know. So that's why you should wash them properly. And next, using septic toilets. That means in villages we use it to say like that. When the fecal matter is laid off in the ground, and that particular fecal matter containing tetranucleate cystic stages, when they combine with the surrounding waters and that combined with the drinking water, these kind of problems are coming. What we call all of them as non-hygienic condition. Okay, so that particular prophylaxis, preventive measures, if you take, we can avoid. Prophylaxis is nothing but preventive measure. We can avoid this particular parasite not to enter in our body. Simply hygienic condition we have to maintain. So in some cases, a permanent cure for amoebiasis is very hard to achieve because it frequently recurs unless the complete course of medication prescribed by a qualified medical practitioner use. If doctor prefers 5 days course, after all, some people feel, so the patient feels I'm better normal after 2 days. So that's why if I don't use medication, no problem. If we think like so, that recurs again and again. Recur means it will come again and again. Okay, so that's it. That is the life cycle of Entamoeba histolytica along with pathogenicity and extra-intestinal amoebiasis. Generally, we call amoebic dysentery or intestinal amoebiasis or tropical amoebiasis, and the extra-intestinal amoebiasis and prophylaxis. Preventive measures we are taken. This is the life cycle of Entamoeba histolytica. Before we close, let me ask a question. So in your view, what could be the substance that forms the wall of the cyst in Entamoeba histolytica? Cyst wall of Entamoeba histolytica made up of? Cyst wall of Entamoeba histolytica made up of? No. Okay, I'll give options here to you. I'll give options to you. That cyst wall is made up of the material which makes the cyst wall. Number 1, chitin. Number 2, protein.
Protein, sir.
How can you say that is protein?
Because the trypsin will dissolve the proteins, no, sir.
Very good, very good. The answer is protein. The cyst wall of Entamoeba histolytica made up of protein. How? See, let's go back and see the story. There in the life history, I said over, the cystic wall will rupture because of the enzyme trypsin. So that's why we can say the cyst wall is made up of protein. Very good, very good. So that's it. That is the end of Entamoeba histolytica.